And we are live. Welcome to a new episode of Potzblitz. It's episode number 9. And today we're going to talk about the Raspiblitz, a Bitcoin and Lightning Network full node built on a Raspberry Pi. And we have Christian rootzoll and openoms, two of the developers of the Raspiblitz, here tonight. And they're going to talk about the project, present what it is for those of you who don't know it at all, and also give an outlook what's coming up in version 1.6. We're doing the stream via Jitsi, and we're a little bit delayed today because we just had to switch servers, so using Freifunk Munich for those interested in the technicalities. Jitsi is an open source video conferencing software that usually works quite well, and it doesn't collect your data, which is a pretty good selling point if you're asking me. If you have any questions, there's the MetaMost channel, mm.fulmo.org, where you can join the channel Potzblitz and ask cool questions, or using the hashtag Potzblitz on Twitter, of course, and naturally in the comments on YouTube itself. openoms and rootzoll will be monitoring the questions, and I'll be also asking them during the presentation. So feel free to drop in with any questions at any time. It might be that some of you are here because of the Spacebox. There was a tweet announcing that it would happen today. It is very good that you're here today because the Spacebox is actually built on top of the Raspiblitz. We are briefly going to touch it, but the actual Spacebox talk will happen next Sunday, so just tune in next Sunday. And don't leave just yet, because here they are, rootzoll and openoms. Very glad to have you guys.
Yeah, hi there.
Okay, hi everyone.
So we can jump right in. I can share my screen if you like.
That would be a delight.
Perfect. Good. Okay, let's go. So, okay, let me start. So we're talking Bitcoin full nodes today. And Raspiblitz is one of them, but I want to start a little bit with the market overview. So if you're interested in a Bitcoin full node and a Lightning full node to run, there are multiple options you have out there. Just to mention some, there was one of the first ones we were seeing around with the Casa node. It's still discontinued as far as my news is. There's another one called the Nodl. That's very good box, a little bit more on the higher end from the price spectrum, but delivers a lot of performance for you. And so this is also a good choice to go. There was announced that there should be a Bitbox base coming from Shift Crypto, but this project seems to be on pause. Was a great project by Staticus, but we have to see how this is going. So another option that's still on the market is the MyNode you can find. So there's about $420 roundabout. But the project we want to talk today is the Raspiblitz. And if you want to buy it, like on the market, kind of all the hardware together in this beautiful box that you see here on the picture, that will cost you around euros, about 380 euros, so a little bit more in dollars. And you can go to shop.fulmo.org. But just to buy it on the market is not for everybody. So the idea, and that's the idea where Raspiblitz project started, is a do-it-yourself node. So it really started at our Fulmo Lightning Hack Days, where we came together to understand the Lightning Network better, and to understand the Lightning Network, it's best to try it out, to get your hands on. And so we were seeing, we have the need here to build a node ourselves. And we started with a tutorial from Staticus, and this was the Raspibolt project. This was a longer step-by-step tutorial how to set up a full Bitcoin full node and a Lightning node on a Raspberry Pi. And but we were seeing that it takes a little bit too long to do this over a weekend, so we started to scripting a little bit more, putting all the little manual steps into scripts. And this is where the Raspiblitz project kind of started and developed from there more and more into a easier to set up project. You find everything on the GitHub. So at the rootzoll /Raspiblitz, this is the project there. It seems quite popular already. So we're almost getting to the 1,000 stars there. So we had 70 contributors so far. It's, of course, it's all open source under the MIT license, so it's very freely can be used, modified, and even before do your own project on this. From its base, it's a Bitcoin core running there, and an LND, that's the implementation of Lightning the Raspiblitz is using. And from there on, you can of course extend it. We will see it shortly. From the hardware side, at the moment it's based on a Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigabytes. Also, you can choose 8 gigabyte now if you want, but 4 gigabytes is the kind of basic we now settled for. It can even run with older Raspberry Pis like the 3 one, and also with 1 gigabyte. You can run the basics, but of course keep in mind if you want to install all the kind of extra apps you can find or switch on, you might want to go with a more powerful Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigabyte is the one we now say should be the standard to use if you order a new one. What else do you need? You need a good power supply so that the hard drive, the SSD there gets enough power. Always make sure have a good strong power supply. We now also settled to have a 1 terabyte SSD. That's maybe getting the costs a little bit up. You can also use an older HDD hard drive, older one with the 0.5 terabyte, but keep in mind, we want to use the power the Raspberry Pi providing here over the USB 3 now, and you're really getting much faster with an SSD here, and it's worth to go for this 1 terabyte SSD if you want to be future-proof. Also, make sure to pick the right SSD case or the right casing for your hard drive, because we were seeing some problems with some casing. It's not supporting the UASP protocol. It's something special, but just keep that in mind. If you pick the one we have in our shopping lists, you should be good. The U green here is working quite well for all our testings. You also need an SD card there where you put the image on. You also, at the moment, make sure to get a good SD card, a little bit higher quality one. So there's a Samsung Pro Endurance, for example, does a good job. So that it's, because working on an SD card can always, with many write cycles, even if you try to minimize them, it should be a good quality SD card there. But you can, if you just want to start and try it out, you can also use an older one if you have something lying around. And the one special thing about the Raspiblitz, maybe compared to other full node projects out there, is that it's having a screen. You can see it quite nice here. So this helps a lot of people getting started with the project, because it tells you simple information on the setup. For example, what is the IP of the device? So it makes it very much more easier to get started. And from there on, it gives you always a good, or tries to give you always a good status information. What is the node doing? Is it online? How much Satoshis do I have on there? All those little bits. And it's a touch screen, and this is what we more and more try to utilize in the future. And then there's one last point, and that's maybe a little bit the change to past version of the Raspiblitz, is all the question: how do you keep it cool? Because the Raspberry Pi 4 can get quite hot when it's under a lot of load. So, and we recently decided to go with the heatsink case. This is the passive cooling. So we had a fan. We tried something out with the fan in the past, but always when you have moving parts in your Raspiblitz, it might it stops or whatever, and then even causing other problems. So there's now the heatsink case for the Raspberry Pi 4, and we kind of very much recommend this. Now it might get hot, but the Raspberry Pi can live through this, and under normal kind of work, it keeps in a range that's quite okay. Maybe if you're in a hotter country, that could be something. There could be some feedback, which could be interesting, but for normal use cases, you should be good. And if you count all your parts together and buy them from Amazon, you should be around, at the moment, about 235 euros roundabout, including your VAT here, for example, here in Germany. Again, this is already with the 1 terabyte SSD and really the Raspberry Pi 4 gigabyte, but it gives you good fit. So this is what we recommend at the moment. So what do you get when you have all this hardware and you put it together, like you can see on the GitHub? You set it up at the moment over SSH. This is the terminal. Maybe people are not familiar exactly with it. This is what you see in all these hacker movies. Yeah? So people putting this terminal and typing like crazy on it. But don't get scared. It's normally quite easy to get it started. We have some information there. And once you have the terminal open, you can just follow what the Raspiblitz is saying on the display, type in this command, and then it kind of picks you up with a little bit more like a GUI kind of thing here. and where you can just pick the menu items and do all the rest of configuration you need to do. And once it's set up, you've gone through all the setup process. The longest maybe will be getting the blockchain. The Raspberry Pi 4 is capable of completely validating and syncing the blockchain by itself. So this is at least something really what we can utilize the power, and it's really fast if you use an SSD for that. Then you can get it done in about a weekend to have it completely synced and ready to go. And once you did this, you get all those little actions you can see here to get your to try out your Lightning node you have now here. So let's see it. You can see what you do. Just because in the beginning you fund it, you put some Satoshis on there. You transfer it, for example, from your hardware wallet. Put some Satoshis on there. Then you connect to other peers on the Lightning network. This is not the channel thing yet, because you're just connecting to other Lightning network peers. That tells you then on the gossip network about how's the network looking like, and you learn a lot about the network. And then you can build up channels. This is the point where you put some Satoshis from on-chain, your on-chain Satoshis into those Lightning channels. And once those channels are kind of established, you can then start to transfer on the Lightning network your Satoshis with send and receive. And this is kind of already your basic kind of setup. And then we have a lot of extra services. I will show you a little bit in detail here. This is a little bit how the LCD information looks like. This is without the touchscreen. It's still from an older version, but we like to keep it classic. But we have to see how it now develops, maybe when we get more and more into the touch screen and graphical user interface a little bit more in the future. So let's see. But of course, working through an SSH connection and on the terminal is maybe not for everybody. For the setup, I think it should work for everybody. But maybe if you want to manage your Lightning node a little bit more with a little bit more comfort and like you know it through a web browser, there's, for example, additional apps you can switch on. Here is the RTL app that is since the last versions, it's there. So you just switch it on, let it install, and once it's there, you get a little address you can call on your web browser, and then you can manage your Lightning node with a little bit more comfort and with all those extra little nice features there with a great UI. Even now with the upcoming version 1.6, there's even an alternative to RTL if you like to try something out, and I think openoms will show us a little bit more in detail. That's the Thunderhub web UI. That's just another project that also tries to achieve a similar goal like RTL. So, and also maybe not already with the 1.6, but we try to work now towards it, is also that you may be parallel to set up your Raspiblitz through SSH. We try to make it more and more possible from the beginning to run, to configure and set up and manage your Raspiblitz also over a web UI that you can then use over a Tor web browser. But this is a kind of step-by-step iterative process we are getting more and more to, but just to keep that in mind, that this is something we're working on for the future. So once you have set up all those things, the Raspiblitz offers you, like over the last version, since we have the Raspberry Pi 4 here, it has a lot of power to run additional apps, and you can see the list of apps and special services you can install already kind of was growing. Oops, not too quick. So, for example, just give you a quick overview of what we have. You can install Tor here and run it like as a hidden service. So this kind of gives you more privacy, and we maybe go in the future. This looks like it more and more by default with Tor. So at the moment you still have to switch it on, but in the future this maybe will be kind of a default thing. Then we have RS, which is as an Electrum server that you can run on your Raspiblitz. So this is when you, for example, now the Electrum wallet was a quite popular Bitcoin wallet. This normally picks a random server that's available on the internet, but now you can really connect directly to your own Electrum server if you run a Raspiblitz. There's also a BTC Pay server if you're interested in processing your own invoices for an online shop or something. This is something to look into. Then there is a BTC RPC Explorer, which is like like a blockchain explorer, like when you go on the internet and want to see if a transaction went through very quickly. This is also web UI, so this shows up in your browser then, and it feels really like you're on a professional website, professional block explorer, but it's running on your Raspiblitz. Then there's LNbits. LNbits is also a web UI that helps to manage multiple single accounts on your Raspiblitz. Normally, you just have your one account with Lightning, and maybe you want to create smaller accounts for people in your community. We will see what power may be in there later on. This is something where to look at the LNbits project. Then there's Spectre Desktop. This is also a web UI that helps you a little bit to do things with hardware wallets to manage on your Bitcoin Core. So you can do multi-sig, for example, with multiple hardware wallets with a Trezor, a Ledger, a Cold Card wallet, or the Spectre do-it-yourself wallet. So this is the nice UI there. Then you can also run completely on your hardware. Then there is LND Manage. This is a CLI, so this is something you do then over the terminal, but it helps you a little bit to do advanced channel management, so it gives you more information that maybe is not available at first glance on the other web UIs you see over there. A little bit into the same direction, but a little different. The different focus is Faraday. Faraday is it helps you to analyze the channels you have open and maybe recommends what channels are working good and what other channels may be interesting to open. So those Faraday goes a little bit into the same direction. Then there is Loop there. Loop is a swap service. So for example, if you're a merchant, this could be very interesting. So for example, you have a channel open, you paid the opening fees, and of course, once now you can receive Lightning payments, but once the liquidity is filled up on your side, normally you would need now to close the channel and open up new channels where you have incoming. So, but maybe you don't want to do this. You have a good established channels, so you can use a service like Loop to kind of loop out the liquidity to your hardware wallet. So I received small Lightning payments as a merchant, and now I can maybe once a month I just take those amount and with one transaction putting it into my hardware wallet, and now I have this channels free again to receive payments again. So this is interesting for people doing merchant kind of setups with a Raspiblitz. Then we will take quickly a look into ThunderHub. This is what openoms will show you, and also into the balance of Satoshi. So I think at this point, I'd like to hand you over to openoms a bit and give you a little bit more details on those upcoming new services that we will have in the 1.6 release that will probably be by the end of the month in a final release. openoms, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for the next slide. So yes, I just would like to speak about a couple of things I've been working on to implement and been quite enthusiastic about. Like this Lightning management software for LND, which is called ThunderHub. First time came across it in the Lightning Hack Sprint, not the last one, but the one previous, where April Devin, the dev, has demonstrated it, and it has a very impressive UI user interface, which you can see some excerpts here. It's just a couple of screenshots I've took. It has much more like and channel overview with balances and fees structures and all kinds of things, even an experimental kind of chat over Lightning application as well. It's been worth to visit the GitHub /appledevin/ThunderHub, where the install process is described for other services as well. But now we have obviously one-click installation from the services menu in the Raspiblitz, and also we have like an update option in the update menu, because the changes are coming so fast that it's hard to keep up, especially not to redo SD card images for it. So one thing which was recently implemented, it is connected to this balance of Satoshis feature, which we have as well. But the ThunderHub has implemented balance of Satoshis itself, and then gave it a graphical interface, and you can see what kind of settings you can do here to rebalance the channels in an advanced way. A lot of parameters can be set. You can basically build up the route to go through and specify how much you want to pay for it and what's the maximum fees and fee rates you want to check and what amount to target for, and then press a button and well, it tries to find tries to execute this and kind of probes its way through as well. So related to that, there is this invoice payment where it's just showing a small kind of donation to ThunderHub. And the interesting thing on it that this hasn't been sent yet, but already showing that how many hops and how many sets it will take to send this payment. So what happens here that when you pay through ThunderHub, it probes, queries the route before you would push send, and you would know the path and the fee beforehand of the payment. And then on the right upper corner, there is this statistics window, which is basically very similar to the Faraday, which has been developed by the Lightning Labs. But this has a graphical interface. It shows some statistics on your node in terms of uptime, the routing volume, so how much traffic you get on it, and then the fee settings, and not only your own node but your peers as well. So every channel and every peer has kind of a score which is compared to each other to the overall average, and also has some preset settings. So it is very nice to kind of spot some outliers which have like high fee or a very low uptime and maybe contact them or make the whole network more efficient this way to be able to manage and overview even if there are a lot of channels present. So, I mean, I could speak a lot about this, but if you go to the ThunderHub Twitter account, there is a very nice video presentation on YouTube link there. It's ThunderHub IO in Twitter, which has been done on the last Lightning Hack sprint, and the dev is going through all the features there. So I think I will leave it to him. So can we go to the next slide, please? So then next thing is the balance of Satoshis. This is the work of Alex Bosworth, who manages the YALS website and the connected node, and a couple of others. He has extensive experience in managing nodes and building the tools for it. So this is a command line tool, a very feature-rich command line tool written in Node.js as well. And it has a wealth of options. As you can see, this is just the help menu opening and just the first layer of, or the first branch of this tree, where you can find out about every command as you go deeper with just typing the boss, like accounting and help, or whichever. So it has a lot of things which does overlap with ThunderHub as it's been implemented into it. But one could be surprised at how much can be conveyed in a text format. It feels very interesting just to see how it exposes all the kind of acts as it is finding a route in terms of a payment, and it's probing it beforehand. So trying the optimal route and then going with the lowest fee, and then the Lightning Loop service is implemented into Balance of Satoshi, so you don't even need to have the Lightning Loop installed when you have Balance of Satoshis. You can just call the comments from here, and things like increase inbound liquidity or increase outbound liquidity is the equivalent of looping in and out, and also supports the multipath payment feature of LND10 already. So this is, and also batching transactions. You can choose the priority and the fees. So it's a very efficient way to create liquidity or to get your Lightning funds off to a hardware wallet, or even used as a privacy feature when you could pay on chain from a completely disconnected node while just looping out from your channel. Also, it has a rebalancing tool where you can see which channel should be paying and which channels should be receiving the balance. So it's kind of intelligent in terms of, well, it's probing the root, finding the root, and always shows you the fees before engaging in the rebalancing, and you can also specify the limits which it can do. And also, in terms of the amount, it is aiming for like a 4 million rebalance if it doesn't give any specifics, and then if that doesn't go through or there is not enough capacity, it just halves it, and then if that goes through, it goes back up again to like 3 million, and then it just tries to get in within a couple of 10,000 sets to an optimal result, which can be taken by the peers. Also, it has accounting features. If you are running a production node with a merchant, for example, or some kind of service, you can export a CSV, comma separated file which you can then get into Excel or another more sophisticated accounting software. And the very unique thing is that you can connect to a Telegram bot, which you are calling yourself in your Telegram account with the bot father. This is, well, it's a very useful and unique feature. It has some privacy implications since the Telegram bot is being called through the ClearNet, and it is encrypted through SSL, but Telegram has the keys, so they are able to decrypt these messages. Obviously, that's how the bot is working, and also would be able to tie it to your other activity on Telegram, and also your IP address. But in any case, it gives you a very interesting thing that you can have payment notifications and be notified about any like forwarding event or channel activity on your node. This includes when like someone opens or closes a channel. It doesn't matter if it's you or the other peer. And also as a security feature, well, it's rather like Lightning security. It can every time there is a channel opens or closed, the static channel backup is delivered right into your Telegram inbox. So that's another kind of redundant way to have these backups stored and just kept updated. So it is very interesting. It's being developed. It's something to play with for sure. And can we go to the next slide, please, Christian? Yeah, right. So this is now related to the base layer, but we need to fund the Lightning channel somehow. So integrating a CoinJoin service was a priority for me because I feel that it is important to use one, and I use it myself. So it came very obvious that we have a quite good implementation of the Samurai Whirlpool in terms of the Ronin Dojo, for example. But the JoinMarket has been kind of neglected in terms of the user interface. And already on the previous version of the Raspiblitz, the 1.5, we had an install script which has been like modified for the Raspbian environment and could install JoinMarket with one click. But now it got a little menu. So what is a good thing here, that it had a quite extensive guide I've wrote, and also using the JoinMarket developers' extensive notes. But now you won't need to look up any commands anymore to use this command line. So maybe a couple of words at what JoinMarket is. And it is like we have the two more popular like CoinJoin implementations are obviously the Samurai Whirlpool and the Wasabi wallet. But actually JoinMarket is the longest standing and certainly most flexible and completely decentralized CoinJoin implementation. It doesn't have even a central coordinator, and the peers are communicating through various IRC servers through Tor. So it's a very interesting thing and can do a lot of things, and try to expose most of it through this menu. This menu works similarly as the original Raspiblitz menu. Obviously, I've been building on a lot of kind of solutions which we had there already. So we can do, on the right upper side, there is like a sub-menu going into the wallet management options where you can generate a JoinMarket wallet, which will be connected straight to the Bitcoin RPC. So it uses your Bitcoin Core full node, which is running on the Raspiblitz. That's what the LND is connected to as well. So now there will be another application, which is JoinMarket. So you can generate a wallet. Obviously you have the seed. You can import wallets from another computer, or you can recover from the seed. You can see all the history of the past transactions. And then going back to the main menu here in the middle, you can exercise coin control, so you can freeze and unfreeze individual coins, UTXOs. That is done from the menu as well. And that is to be able to sweep and avoid accounts. So you can either, with JoinMarket, you can coin join on demand and send it to an external address with your chosen amount. But also with this coin control feature, you can sweep a mixed depth, which means that you're not choosing the amount, but you are choosing the individual coins you are wanting to send. And in that case, you wouldn't create any change outputs, which is can be like a food gun in terms of CoinJoin privacy, and can affect your coins to be tied together later on. But you can do it without it. So also, if you are running a CoinJoin server, which is called a maker or a yield generator, now you can do it from the menu. So basically, when you go into the menu, you just choose your wallet, give the password, which then dealt with safely, and delete it completely once it's decrypting your wallet. And then the yield generator will be kept running in the background with the Linux system, the service. And you have options to have a look on the logs and the service outputs. And also you can take your little nickname, which is will show up in the offer book, which also has an option to see this decentralized offer book running on your own Raspiblitz and just monitor it locally. Also, an important feature, or like a very interesting feature, is the PayJoin, which again has 3 implementations of the same principle, but you can only do it within wallets. Like as Samurai has built it first, but you can only do it between JoinMarket wallets. And now this menu is helping you to do it. So you need to communicate a little more data than just your receiving address, and it will be all exposed. And then the biggest thing, which has been a surprise that we could do this, but you can actually open the existing JoinMarket Qt graphical interface, which you might have seen in screenshots in Twitter or wherever, the videos, which is a full, traditional kind of graphical interface, which you can run straight from your Raspiblitz without needing to install anything on your desktop. And you can do this with all major operating systems. So this interface will be developed continuously. It can also be updated from the menu itself. So if you use JoinMarket, I hope that you will find it useful, and just check it out. Yeah, thanks. That was from my side, I think.
Awesome. Thank you. Allow me one question here that might have come up a couple times already, but maybe people are interested in that. Anyways, right now, JoinMarket is running sort of as a separate service on the Raspiblitz, and it's not really connected to your Lightning node. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. So both are connected to the Bitcoin. They both are using the Bitcoin D, the Bitcoin database, and Bitcoin Core software, but they are not. They are using two separate wallets. So you would need to fund your LND wallet separately, where you can open channels, and you can also need to fund or use your JoinMarket wallet, which will be a separate one, but you can obviously send Bitcoin in between both.
Right. So, but there's no automated mixing or sort of channel opening through coin joins or something like that.
No, that's something which is just like, as far as I know, is technically not. Well, at least we don't know how it would be possible yet, unless there are some modifications in the Bitcoin protocol. But you can coin join and send an amount straight to your LND wallet with JoinMarket, and then you will be able to open a channel with the next step.
And thank you. Strange was asking whether is there already like a presentation on how the GUI works from within the Raspiblitz, the JoinMarket GUI?
Well, there was a demonstration, but it's been like very much work in progress so far. So I think now it is ready to be like tested more extensively, and you can go onto this GitHub, which is on the right upper corner on my github.com/openoms join inbox, where you can set it up on an existing Raspiblitz, or you can even set it up on just any kind of small SBC as a standalone, and then connect it to a Bitcoin node remotely, either through Tor or LAN. So I mean, it's quite self-explanatory. It's basically built as an interactive guide, so it shows what it does, and if not, then there is like a helper tutorial, which again is being linked to and good to look up.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. So I think this was a deep dive in what's available or will be available with the 1.6, with the more for the JoinMarket and other apps you can install. But openoms, you have still tell us a little bit more about the other hardware maybe you can run the Raspberry Pi software on, because you experimented with that a lot and I think you're the best one to tell us. Even if it's called Raspiblitz, I think it doesn't mean it needs to be limited to a Raspberry Pi, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's not kind of we are not using the brand. We are just named it after it. So yeah, so that's how I came to the Raspberry project originally. That I've been running this Raspberry Pi 3, and I didn't. Well, it actually crashed on me once corrupting my channel database, and I even lost a couple of sets because we had no static channel backups then. So if the channel state is gone, then that was it. So got very annoyed with that and looked across at what other options I have, and settled down on this Odroid HC1, which is in the lower right corner, which is still running since more than a year now. It's a very nice little board with a SATA connector built inside it. So as you can see, the disk is inside, and there is no like USB connections hanging out. And it's actually the same board as the other one on the top, which is called the XU4. So these are Odroid boards. I mean, there are plenty of alternatives. The most popular after the Raspberry Pi is mainly like the ones from Pine 64, which has the Rock 64, Rock Pro 64, which is another kind of format. And then these hard kernel ones are made or designed in South Korea, and they've proved to be quite reliable. And we have this red board on the top is their newest ARM model, which is called the Odroid C4. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM and a couple of advantages over the Raspberry Pi 3, Raspberry Pi 4 to be exact, because it has like 4 USB 3 ports. It also has faster and 6-core CPU and a very stable power supply with supplying 12 volts altogether 24 watts. So it would be possibly able to power even more than one disk. So it is faster. It has better connections, a better power supply, and also what is very important, that it is more open source. I mean, there is no such thing, unfortunately, so far as 100% open source hardware, until I think the most promising project is the RISC-V, but I think it's nowhere there in terms of affordability and also in performance what these boards can do. But certainly these Odroids are more open source than the Raspberry Pi designs, so that's an advantage for sure. So that's something I'm playing with, and also you can see that it is actually running the Raspiblitz 1.5 already. That picture with the screen, that is the red Odroid C4 board on the bottom, and it has a screen on, which is like half resolution. That's what we use with the Raspberry Pi 4 or 3, but it is a touchscreen as well, and then just needs some experimentation to kind of get the same functionality out of it. But also there have been plenty of other boards which people have been building at. I mean, we have seen that we can run pretty much these services with like a 1 GB of RAM machine, but I would rather have 2, which is like sufficient, but then maybe 4 GB is certainly more future proof. And then we also have the 8 GB version of the Raspberry Pi 4 now. I'm sure there will be other boards which will be offering this. And then, I mean, as we go up on price, we can scale up, wherever. Also, there is some point we could think that there could be some error correction RAM come into picture when we are like thinking of putting significant funds on these things. So good things what we could have, or which is desirable, is a speedy connection to the disk. Let it be USB, a SATA, or a PCIe connector to like NVMe, smaller SSDs. And to use an SSD is quite important, as we found out. The seek time is just not comparable to a spinning disk. Also, it is less prone to have corruption from physical shocks. So I would just really recommend to use an SSD. I would go for a 1 terabyte one. That's what we recommend in the shopping list as well now. The 500 gigabytes are still usable for maybe a couple of months, but then afterwards, if you want to have multiple services like an Electrum server on top of your Bitcoin blocks, it would be filling up and stop working. So we can have multiple disks, as rootzoll have been building this experimental feature using a better FS RAID, where we are mirroring at least the valuable data like the Lightning database and other unique data, which is not the blockchain, on a small thumb drive, but we could actually use another SSD for that as well. And then things like, practically you need to have a case, and it's nice to have a screen, although I was very happy using my Odroid without a screen as well, because it's just being tucked away in a corner, and you can see it's working because it's flashing, but otherwise you are just monitoring from the terminal or one of these web applications we are running. So if you feel like it and want to try another board, it is certainly possible. I get these questions a lot, if we can do it. I mean, there is no question that we can do it, but it might need a bit of a debugging, a bit of a customization for various things. I've been working most with the Ambien kind of image repository, or it's a Linux distribution actually, which you could say it's the unbranded version of the Raspbian, both originating from the Debian Linux, which is one of the most popular Linux distribution of all, working on the ARM processors, obviously. It has a wealth of resources in terms of how many boards are able to run Ambien. So any of you got, probably figured out most of the compatibility. And then same with Ubuntu, which is again based on Debian, and lots of providers like Hardkernel with Odroid or Pine64 is supplying Ubuntu as the factory image, which is most recommended and most supported with their boards. So Raspiblitz is working through that as well. If you would want to start, you just go into the README or search the FAQ, or there is a little folder which is linked up here below the title, which is called Alternative Platforms, where there's a small README how to do this. Basically, you just need to set up the default image and then choose the most compatible one and run the manual SD card build script, which is the same script we run when we are building an SD card image for you, which then you can download. But at any point from the open, freely available source code on GitHub, you can just build an SD card for yourself. And the nice thing is, when you do it for yourself, you can put another base image, not just the Raspbian, and certainly proven well that like Ambien is very well compatible with our scripts and our other commands, package management, and so on. So yeah, I'm always very excited to have multiple options. So
yeah, it's pretty cool, and there's already some questions about that too on YouTube. So Strange is asking, what problems may arise with the platform Rock64, and is there any support?
Well, yes, Rock64 is the kind of Raspberry Pi 3, or between 3 and 4. Like, it came out when there was no Raspberry Pi 4 yet. And this is not the same as the Rock Pro 64, which is a quite powerful and newer board. But the Rock 64 had, to my experience, had a lot of Linux kernel level issues with drivers and freezing, and basically it made calculation errors because of probably a series of faulty memory chips and things like that. So I mean, I have one, but actually I can watch a video on it or like open the desktop, but it couldn't sync a blockchain because it would just crap out. So I stopped working with the Rock64 because you just need to, what you need to do is to choose it very carefully, and you might need to buy 3 boards to have one working properly. So I don't have a good experience with those, but I mean, if you have a good one, then this manual SD card building process will work and it will be compatible. The good thing is that these have usually, the non-Raspberry Pi distributions are 64-bit, and we do have the compatibility of every application for 64-bit in the scripts and in the installation kind of scripts. So, they shouldn't stop you trying, but I might just recommend maybe another model from Fine.
And thank you. There's also 2 questions about BTRFS. I just read it. Today you can use BTRFS in work. Will a 32 gigabyte flash USB be enough for the whole time? And the other one is BTRFS recommended RAID feature, or is there still any experimental experience with recovery?
Well, I mean, it is mainly rootzoll implemented this function, but I do test it, and I have a test node, which is Raspberry Pi 4, running with a BTRFS disk, which has its maybe like 4th iteration now, because exactly why it is there, because I'm just testing, and it's reliably recovering. I would be very careful using flash drives though, because those are just like the SD cards. The flash drives are even worse than a good quality SD card in terms of what write cycles they can take. And if we are putting the NND database there, which possibly has thousands of write events, it can die in, I would think, in a couple of months on a busy node. And I mean, the last thing you want to have is a dying disk. So what I was thinking is either to have, if you use Ruxu and the GitHub, I have written up some recommendations of what kind of flash drives to look for, which are better quality. There are even USB SSDs, which are available, slightly more expensive, but we are speaking about like $30-40, and those could take this kind of activity, but they might need more power. So that's something which we need to kind of have more experience with. But using some external power or like a more reliable power source, like with the Odroid boards, I would think even like a second disk would suffice. So maybe there's not much point mirroring the blockchain, as you can just have it on another, maybe just run another node, and then if you need to, you can copy it over. But it's always available for download. But for the LND database and other valuable information like BTC Pay balances, JoinMarket wallets, like BTC Pay invoices, I meant JoinMarket wallets, every little application which has the Unix settings, it would be in this application data folder, which is then mirrored. And I mean, we are far lower than even 1 gigabyte, not speaking about 32 gigabytes. So it's certainly enough. So the smallest SSD which you can hook up to one of these custom setups would be sufficient. So yeah, there's more research needed on this, but it is a very exciting thing to look at.
And I guess another question in this line is, are NVMe disk with USB adapters supported?
Well, I mean, supported in terms of hardware, well, I mean, it depends if it works with the Raspberry Pi 4. It had some issues with a lot of USB adapters, so I think you need to find the right adapter, and then you would be able to, so it's able to power it. It's just that there is this standard called the UASP, I think. Anyways, it's some depth of the USB 3.1 standard, which allows quicker transfers, but also it's not implemented properly in many of the adapters, and that could cause issues with the Raspberry Pi 4. So I mean, you need to try. The disk itself is the adapter which is the problem.
Okay, thank you. I think that's the hardware questions for now.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I think I pass it.
Yeah, thanks for the
mic back.
All right, let's see the next slide. I want to get a little bit more into the user perspective again, from what you can do with your Raspiblitz, and maybe what the problems still to be solved from the user experience side. So the what you normally want to do is, like, if you have your Raspiblitz running at home, but you want to use it while you're on the street, right? While you're maybe in a shop and you want to pay from a mobile wallet with that. So what you can do is, like, there are mobile wallets around, even very pretty ones like the Zap wallet here or the Zeus we can see here. You install them on your mobile phone, but then you connect them and pair it, like, with your Raspiblitz at home, like using the LND REST API or gRPC API. And yeah, so this is really something that's very nice, and what becomes a little bit into problem area we'll see a little bit later. The other things you can connect to your Raspiblitz is other hardware. Like this is one example why it was so important. Besides software projects you can try out on a hack sprint or on a hack day with your Raspiblitz, that there's also other hardware, of course, that you can connect. For example, we use this point of sale with the M5 stack version. It's with the quickening from BTC Socialist here and at room 77. It really is nice that it's working in the background to a Raspiblitz. Or there's even like do-it-yourself coin ATMs that you can then connect to your Raspiblitz. So it should be a connection base, like for your hacking projects. And I want to give a little bit the overview what Raspiblitz can do, and in the beginning can do for you personally. Like why should I run a full node? Why should I build something like that and try it out? First of all, it's a great learning experience. That's for sure. But what kind of service value do I really gain? The first thing I think most people understand is like, and it's very common now, is like you want to validate all your transactions yourself, because not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And I always try to say, like, not your node, not your rules. So if you don't run your own full node, you're normally using a full node from somebody else you connect to in a more lighter way. And then you kind of accept this node is checking all this. And for example, if it comes to a fork situation, so somebody wants to do another Bitcoin with another rules, like we saw with Bitcoin Cash and other kind of forks we were seeing in the past, then you don't run a full node. You don't decide. You let the other services decide which way to go there. So this is actually, I think this is the quality, the most, I think, important quality is like you check the rules on the network. You run a full stack here now from your home. You run with eye level with everybody else out there. So this is definitely one big takeaway here. The other thing is, of course, with the setup you gain privacy. Again, if you use other services, for example, if you have a hardware wallet like a Trezor and you want to use it, you normally go to trezor.io and click there on the wallet thing, and sure, your keys are kept in this, in your private keys kept in the hardware wallet, so that they cannot send your coins somewhere. But you tell them about your public key so that they can show you what are your balances and all those things. So this is where you leak privacy information. If you do it all on your own node, you keep it all in your own area, so you're not leaking to the outside privacy information. And also, like, of course, if you look into this JoinMarket services that you can run yourself, you can even gain privacy on other kind of ways. Then, of course, a lot of people ask, okay, running a Lightning full node there, like, so I can now route payments on the network because it's always on. You can be part of this active routing network, the Lightning routing network that is out there, and maybe you can earn some fees as a routing node. Don't expect too much here because there's a lot of work and maybe a lot of liquidity you have to put at the right places to really get somewhere and maybe not even get rich here. But again, this is something the Raspiblitz can deliver to you to be part of that routing network, and maybe if you're really good at it, maybe earn even some satoshis from fees. So again, a lot of it's getting very trendy to run a full node, and I very much like this because this teaches people a lot. But I think not everybody needs to run a full node at home to use the Bitcoin network. But I think we should always keep in mind it should be possible for everybody to run a full node if needed. For example, if a fork situation comes up, you should be maybe possible in about a week to set a full node up and really do run it yourself and decide for yourself. So we need Staticus, that with the Raspberry Bolt tutorial, the Raspiblitz kind of based on in the beginning, wrote an article called "We Need Bitcoin Full Nodes, Economic Ones," because what always is to keep in mind is like if you have voting power on the rules, if you have some economic value producing with your node, even if it's for yourself, that's great, because a lot of small nodes can together with the economic activity can make a huge say when it comes to this consensus rules and market consensus rules overall. So maybe if you're interested in that perspective, really check out the article I linked over here from Staticus. So this is what the Raspiblitz can really do for you from this perspective. But there is another area of use for your Raspiblitz, and this is what I like to say, your Raspiblitz for your friends and family is like where you can be a little bit a tech-savvy person between your friends or in your family, and you can help them a little bit easier to be part of this ecosystem. So you run this one heavy full node here, but then your friends and family can use more lighter software, more lighter wallets, setups, and you improve their privacy on payments. So you can provide the Electrum server they can use for their hardware wallets, for example, or even for being connected to the Lightning network. You be this one hub they always use when they do a payment, and you are their shield for path analysis that it's out there, where people, even if it's hard to do, but you can have this attack scenario where you have maybe a lot of Lightning nodes out there try to gather the little metadata that's coming through to get some information about payments out there. So if you are the first hop for your friends and family on this path, they can trust you, and you shield them in a special way. And you can even provide good connection to the Lightning network. So a lot of people, because to have a good connection into the Lightning network, you have to build up multiple channels so that you have a good connection to every area of the Lightning network. So even maybe to route around big nodes if you really want to get a little bit more on the edge. So this is something something. You have to build up multiple channels for this. And but your friends and family maybe just need this one channel to your node, and then they can use your good connectivity to the rest of the network. So this is also makes it easier for friends and family to be part of this in a more relaxed way. Also, you will not attack those channels, so they don't have to run some kind of a watchtower on this channel. So, because it's a friends and family situation. Never trust too much, of course. It's all about money, but of course you can relax a little bit more on the attack kind of scenarios. And also, if people kind of like they're losing their channel database, like you will be friendly on recovery and close maybe friendly to do channels for them, even if they lost all of their channel data. All those situations, you can be a lot of helpful to your friends and family out there if you run a Raspiblitz and let them more and more use your services and help them out. But let's look exactly what this means. So from a technical side again, so you're running this node now in your home, and this is a kind of classic setup we see. Not maybe the most classic setup, but definitely you have a router there, and your Raspiblitz is running behind this router, right? So and it's always the question: how can friends and family make easy connection to your node? So this is really something we want to look a little bit into, and I think we finally found a practical good solution for that. Let me show you a little bit in detail. So, because this is the standard situation, you're here, you have your Raspiblitz running in your local area network, and then you want, for example, connect your mobile wallet to it to have this remote control on your smartphone. So this works when you're in your local network. You have to make sure to be, for example, if your smartphone is connected through Wi-Fi, make sure it's on the same router connected to the LAN cable that's here in your Raspiblitz. But normally this is default. So works quite okay. You can pair now your mobile wallet with your Raspiblitz, but in this scenario, it just works in your local network. But if you move out of here in the public internet, there's a router here, and you have a net, so you're shielded a little bit from the outside. So your mobile wallet will not be able to connect here anymore. So, for example, even if you switch your smartphone onto mobile plan, on the data plan, and not to your Wi-Fi, you already lose this connection. So this is not a very good user experience, because a mobile wallet, you want to use mobile, right? You want to use it on the go. So let's see what we can do here. The first classic thing to do is, like, if you're a little bit more technical experience and you have, for example, you have access to your router, so you know how to log in there, you have all the admin passwords, you can log in here and do a port forwarding. So your router has a public IP, so you can reach this IP here with your mobile wallet, and then say everything that comes on this port here should be forwarded to my little Raspiblitz over there. But you can see this is already a manual setup, and not everybody feels comfortable with it. So, and also then you have to keep in mind your public IP may be changed every 24 hours. So because you're not guaranteed a fixed IP here from your internet service provider, so you have to also maybe think about a dynamic DNS to configure and set up. All this is possible with the Raspiblitz, so it's allowing you to set up a dynamic DNS server, for example. But again, from the user experience, it's a very technical experience, and you have to have access to a router. If you're using the Wi-Fi from your neighbors, you will not be able to set something up like this. So technical possible, but also not the best user experience. What else could we do here? So another step, and a lot of people said, hey, why not use Tor here? Because Tor has this one very, very nice thing. If you run your Raspiblitz here behind Tor, it's able to tunnel through your router, and it connects to the Tor network, and then you have this onion address here. That's a hidden service address. This is where your LND, for example, is running. And then you can use on your mobile phone, you can have a adapter, like there's either proxy software, a special app you install, or the software that you are using, the wallet, for example, has to be able to support Tor, and then it can then it can handle those Tor addresses, because those are not very usual for normal internet services. So you need special software like playing together with your mobile wallet. And first of all, this is not easy to configure for everybody. Also, I have to say, I have mobile phones where I sometimes have problems to set up those proxies rights, and sometimes something is not working, and it's also a little fiddly. And then also you have to all the wallets. You're limited in your wallet choice if they have to support Tor. All those little things already get, again, on the user experience side, not that good. And also there are even devices out there. If you think about those hacker projects, this little ESP32, there are no Tor libraries that you can run on here. So this little device would not be able to reach your Raspiblitz over there. So again, it's a step forward, but again, your options are limited, and this proxy app thing is also not perfect. So what we did, we came up with over the last hack sprints, and we now finally integrated it into the Raspiblitz side for the upcoming 1.6. Is the idea of a IP to Tor bridge server, and to really thank Frankie here for putting all this time into this, and want to give you a little bit the idea. So you still run your Raspiblitz behind Tor. It's a hidden service, but there's another server out there you can configure for yourself. That's running also Tor, so it can connect here. So you can make this connection, and then this server here it has a public IP out there, and it can translate also again from a normal public IP and a port. So get one port on this one server, and it translates directs or forwards all traffic here and makes this kind of tunnel possible. So this is working for now. All your wallets, they know how to speak with the IP address format. Also, those little devices, they can do this. But still, in this scenario, not everybody has a server out there to set up with Tor. So this is super nerdy to do for people. And this is also what Frankie was building in there, is like building a little shop system on top of it, so that people running those servers can rent them out for people that want an easy solution for this. So what the Raspiblitz now has here is a kind of subscription model you can do. So with Lightning microtransactions, you can get out there to a IP to Tor shop server and say, show me all the bridges like you have available, and you pick one, and then you rent a port address on a public IP and pay it for every 24 hours. So first of all, this is perfect for Lightning microtransactions, because we already have a Lightning node here. It's funded, it can pay services. And another good thing is, or two good things that come together here is that if you pay the service over here, if the person you pay with Lightning doesn't know your identity. So you can pay very anonymously here for this service. And also on the other side, because you're running Tor and all, you pay without giving a personal ID or your personal IP. Then all you tell the server is forward to this hidden server address, a hidden service address from Tor, which still you can create completely anonymously, shielded through the Tor network. So you can use this service with very, very little risk to really give any kind of personal data. You just pay it, and then you try it out, and if it works for you, that's perfect. And it's even better in that way, like using a VPN, for example, because you can have maybe similar bridging services like with a VPN, but for a VPN that you use, you always have to give your public IP, and this service here is even running behind Tor, so really, really good shielded on a privacy level here. So and this shop server is all this IP to Tor stuff is completely open source, so everybody's free here to set up an own shop on the Raspiblitz. You can, when you say I want to make a subscription, you choose the shop address. So at the moment we plan to have a Fulmo shop out there for this IP to Tor services. That's kind of default there, but you can exchange it with your own kind of shop, or shop you like or trust or like better to use. So this is a completely open source solution here that you can choose, and you're freely to point it to your own service. So because this is a kind of one big release or big feature that will be in the 1.6, I want to give you also a little peek view here. It's maybe not finalized, but it's a little bit how it works. There is a release candidate 1 out, but this is really more for the absolutely technical people. You can find it in the Raspiblitz branch if you're really, really interested. But still, we're working on this. So what comes new in this version is a subscription menu. So when you're in your main SSH menu, you can have there now show me subscriptions. And normally in the beginning, there is no subscriptions, so you can start a new one. So there's an IP2Tor subscription you can start. So maybe even later on, there can be other kind of subscriptions, like for watchtowers or domain services or something. So just keep in mind, you can use this model maybe even for other kind of services. Then you go to the shop URL that is changed, that you can change, and you choose different options there. You see a lot of kind of different service there. They can have maybe different prices, so there's all kind of different options there that you can use. Maybe one is in Sweden, one is in Germany, telling you that in the description, and you make your choice there. And then you say, okay, I want to subscribe there. You see a little bit like just this information here. You say you will get an IP over here, and it will be forwarded to your service over here, and these are kind of your costs. You will pay for the first time, for the first 24 hours, it costs you 40 sats, and for every renewal will cost you a different price. So those are a little bit the terms of services. You say agree, and then just the service is connected. Again, this is when you really set it up for arbitrary kind of thing. But for example, if you want to connect the mobile wallet, it will just ask you, oh, do you want to connect it manual, maybe with port forwarding or something else, or do you want to use this IP2Tor subscriptions over here? And then you say yes. You pick your service. You say I want to agree, and then it shows you the pairing code, and the pairing code is already the public IP, the IP2Tor server IP in there, and you just pair it with your phone, and then you should be connected. So this is the kind of user experience we're aiming for here with the new release, and we really hope this makes it much easier for a lot of people that want to easily connect their mobile devices. And even later on, there could be other things to do, because in the beginning we're concentrating on those both APIs, on the REST API and the gRPC API. Those are the ones that are mostly used by the mobile wallets, or maybe for other devices you want to connect. But those are possible to use here. There's also now this Let's Encrypt service in the new version, and we'll show you a little bit like what you maybe can do with that one. So because there's still the thing the gRPC and the REST API, they are protected normally if you connect to your Raspiblitz with the TLS certificate that is created by LND. So, and you give this just to the mobile wallet with the QR code. You give this certificate while you pair. So even if this one here this connection goes through the public internet, it's already encrypted when you talk to your Raspiblitz. But if you now want to make other service available, for example, like a BTC Pay server or the LN bits, you have this kind of last mile between the IP2Tor and the web browser now that people use that maybe goes kind of unencrypted, and you want to use HTTPS here. So this is really something to keep in mind, because we really want to have the secure connection so that even the IP2Tor server over here can look into the traffic and just forwards the kind of bits that come here to your Raspiblitz. It should be just a dumb kind of translation server and tunneling server. So and this is really what's next. Maybe it will be not in the 1.6, but it's maybe for something we aim for the 1.7. But to give you the idea how you can then even put your LN bits or your BTC Pay service out to the public and to users out there that just can use it with our normal web browsers and the normal smartphones. It's that we want to have HTTPS here. You could use a self-signed certificate, but again, then those web browsers will see, will you trust those unsecure thingy? This always is not good for people. And also there's really the danger that the IP2Tor server can just be a man in the middle and still attack this connection. So this is something we don't want. What is possible to use, hopefully in the future, and we're just trying this out, is to use Let's Encrypt here. So the idea is like that you can get a valid subscription, a valid certificate from Let's Encrypt that you kind of handle out between Let's Encrypt and the Raspiblitz. And then the users really can just call it like any other web service. It gets served securely behind Tor, so you really don't expose any personal information here, and people can use it securely to HTTPS to your browser. And this is really something we are aiming for in the future, and this would enable stuff that will show shortly. And but it's still something we have to figure out all the little details. But something really I like. The only thing I like to mention is, keep in mind that the user IP here can be maybe monitored by the IP2 Tor server. So don't get too crazy what you do with this service. There may be leakage, and always make sure to pick a trusted IP2 Tor server to have this leakage of the user IPs maybe not that critical. So this is the only thing. You are safe behind Tor. That's great. You paid with Lightning. You're kind of safe. But maybe your users, this is a place that can be monitored. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So the last kind of chapter. Okay, we already getting a little bit long here. Jeff, are we still good? So sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a lot of stuff and pretty good stuff. Keep going. There's one or two questions in stock, but maybe we can also answer them afterwards. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or also on Mattermost. We'll open this conversation up after the live stream, so you can also ask rootzoll and openoms afterwards if you don't want to be sort of on the record. But please continue.
All right, cool. Because this is so what we can see, like the Raspiblitz gives you so much options here. So it's very hard to really pick the focus here. But the last chapter, I want maybe also to go a little bit, where can it go and what else can you do with the Raspiblitz? Because a lot of people say, I want to run a full node to help the network, to support the network. That's a good course, and I like it, but you have to keep in mind that if you're for example, in Germany, we have a lot of full nodes over here. To adding one more full node just to keep it running in the background is maybe not that much effective. It is effective for example, if we talk about other countries, like for example, if you look at the map of Africa, there's not much full nodes out there. So if you run a full node there, that's definitely helping the network and spreading it locally, technically over the globe. But to really make it supporting, it really needs to do a little bit either economic value or give technical options, like for example, like using satellite, LoRaWAN, Wi-Fi mesh, to really make it stronger and more robust to have this infrastructure of full nodes that we have out there. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. And the Spacebox project that is based on the Raspiblitz, this is the talk we will see next week, right, Jeff? That's scheduled for next week.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. So we will take a look there. I'm very glad to see that there's a project that wants to spread those full nodes in Africa. And for those setups, just to give you a small preview, there's ideas to put it behind solar panels. So there are concepts out there that's ready to kind of buy the sets. And if we can put in the future, even combine it with for example, satellite or other kind of Wi-Fi mesh networks, this would really like help the technical infrastructure of the network. But another way, and even to maybe make your Raspiblitz more economically valuable, is to open it up for your local community with onboarding and education. And there are two concepts I want to quickly introduce to you. They're maybe not completely finished, but looks like they're very good to approach, and I very much like your feedback on those. And those two concepts are to onboarding and educate local users are Lightning vouchers. You maybe remember, like in the early beginning of Bitcoin, like giving people paper wallets. This was always a great way to onboard people, because then they have, I have some Bitcoin here, so now what do I do with it? So this is really, the journey starts with the first Bitcoins or Satoshis. Maybe nowadays we say you have to, you own yourself, or you get handed, and now you have been responsible for those. This is always the kind of first good learning experience, and we want to see how we can make this possible with the Raspiblitz for your local community, for Lightning, for Bitcoin over Lightning. So, and the other thing is how we get more local merchants to accept Bitcoin, like for in your local community. And there's a little bit the concept, the name is not fixed. We call it now cash in the bag, with a paper POS card that could make it very easy for your local merchant to accept Bitcoin. And you help this with running a Raspiblitz. So let's take a quick look here. How does this might work? First of all, the Lightning vouchers. We tried this Lightning vouchers out, for example, at the Bitcoin assembly, at the Chaos Communication Congress a lot. So it was really good thing. And what is now a new kind of version, prototype version, is using LNbits for this. LNbits, remember, is this extra app that you can activate on the Raspiblitz. It still gets developed and more, but we can already see where this can go, because there's one plugin in there that's called LNURLV, and this can create kind of a lot of these little QR code vouchers, which are like LNURL vouchers or codes, but also have a fallback mechanism that they can, when you scan it with a normal mobile wallet, and you don't have any Lightning wallet installed, it just opens like a normal web page. This is then served from the LNbits, and this is then served on your Raspiblitz, and it's more like a instant wallet, like in your web browser. And then if you build now QR codes with here, where some Satoshi values kind of as a voucher are granted to you, you can hand them out just to people, and if they scan it, they get a kind of instant wallet, and from this instant wallet in their web browser, they can spend it maybe directly somewhere where they find it, or they can transfer it then to a mobile wallet. So this is a very interesting thing to look at, to make those paper vouchers possible. And once you have this little QR codes, you can print them out under the stickers. You can design nice flyers that really make it in your local language or for your personal situation. You stick them on there. You can even hand them out by hand to people, or even put it into the post boxes of your local community, and then people can try it out, like go to their local shop, for example, where they can spend it if they accept Bitcoin or Lightning, or they can put it and transfer it in their own custodial, in their non-custodial wallet that are controlled by them, and they now really own those sets. So this is the idea of spreading Lightning vouchers in your local community. And again, this can be possible, may be possible, that you run your Raspiblitz, have LNbits on there, create those, put some Satoshis from yourself on there, create those little vouchers, and hand them out to your local community. And then you kind of make this possible, that make it possible again to this way. The other way about the paper point of sale card is another plugin in LNbits. It's called TPOS. And what it does is, like, you can create, again, with LNbits, you can create this little small accounts, right? You have this one Lightning channel you have, and you can chop it up in little custodial accounts that you control, like on your Raspiblitz. And what you can do is, now for one of those accounts, you can create a paper point of sale card, or that's working this way. You get a QR code. In this QR code is a web URL that is then a HTTPS URL that everybody can call on your little Raspiblitz. And when you call this, scan this and open this up in your smartphone, you see like this. It looks very much like a very simple point of sale. So at the point of sale, people just now type in a number like €1, you see how many sets it is, and then you can create an invoice and people can pay to this, and this will be then validated to your LNbits account, which is running on your Raspiblitz Lightning channel or on Lightning node. So this is a very, very easy way to just give out a QR code, and people just scan it with their phone and they have a POS in their hand. So how can now this cash in the bag thing work? See it that way. What you do is, like, you choose a local store like you trust. There's a little bit like social trust involved in this model, but it's a local community, so you will find people there. What you do is, like, you say, hey, see, you have your register, there's cash in there, right? So what you do is you take this little bag. There's also already some cash in there, but it's still in the bag, and there's this little card also in there, and you put it all into the bag and just have it here lying around in your register, waiting for somebody to come in here that says, I want to pay with Bitcoin over Lightning because I saw this sticker here on your window. So what the merchant is then doing is, like, okay, I remember there was this bag here in my register. I take it out. I take out the QR code and the paper card, and there are some instructions on there, and you just follow the instructions. So you scan, the merchant now scans with his smartphone the QR code, opens up the temporary point of sale, like this is from this QR code, and punches in how much the person now needs to pay for the stuff. So okay, creates an invoice, shows it to that person. That invoice gets paid now, and says beep beep, Okay, it got paid perfectly. I see this amount paid, the confirmation, and now the merchant just takes out the cash that is in that the customer just paid and puts it from the bag into this normal register and treats everything else like the customer just paid with cash. So there's nothing special to be modified on the register itself. There's nothing to be modified in your bookkeeping process. It is for the merchant. It's very, very easy to do because the merchant handles it like just with everything else. And again, all this now is technically is running in the background on your Raspiblitz, and you just gave this merchant this little card here and just this bag with a little bit fiat in there, maybe 20 euros or dollars. So this is enough for the beginning so that somebody can pay for this little voucher amounts. Like you gave out vouchers that are valid for a bubblegum. Perfect. Now people come into this little store and buy bubblegum with Bitcoin, and 20 euros is enough for that, so no problem. So you can build up this learning experience for your local community, both with your Raspiblitz running and providing to your local community. Okay, so this was this big kind of what you can do with your Raspiblitz for you personally, for your friends and family, for your local community. So Jeff, any updates on this before we maybe just go into the finishing little details here?
No, I think we're good. We can go into move towards the finishing line and then move it
into the open discussion, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So this is a quick overview, just what will come up with the 1.6. Hopefully, again, to end of months, we'll have it available for you. So basically, there's a lot of updates here from existing apps you had before. There's some new stuff. This new stuff is mostly on this web server thing, on the subscription things, so on the IP to Tor bridge. Again, there's the balance of Satoshi that openoms was showing, and also the join box is on there. Also the Thunder Hub. There's the Let's Encrypt client for already maybe trying and fiddling a little bit with the HTTPS Let's Encrypt thing. So all those little things are in there. And again, there's a fix for the Dropbox static channel backup. Again, if you have the 1.50 still running and you're using the Dropbox static channel backup, maybe check out the already available 1.5.1 update that is available on the Raspiblitz GitHub, because it fixes already a bug here for this backup situation. But it will definitely be part of the 1.6. And again, we recommend now the Raspiblitz at Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 GB as a standard package, but it will still run, again, also the 1.6 will still run with your older hardware, even on a Raspberry Pi 3. So don't be too concerned here. You will be able to update that also. So last invitation, we already had 70 contributors. That's great. If you also think running Raspiblitz and you maybe have little something to improve there, always check out the issues there. And maybe to give you a quick overview over the programming structure. I don't want to go too deep here, but you just take a look at some folders here. You find most scripts that are running on the Raspiblitz in this home.admin, and there's all this kind of setup scripts you find there. They are numbered, so you can go through a little bit. And there's also the another folder called config scripts. This is now more like a collection of feature scripts where you can do turn on and off features or configure your system. So if you have some software you would like to add, I would recommend you to take a look at this config scripts folder, and you can see on the example of other services like what is needed to really integrate a new app into the Raspiblitz, because it's always great if you try out stuff on your Raspiblitz, but if you want to really have it so that every update of the Raspiblitz, it's still there and it's still working, it was best to contribute back to the project and have it as a feature that can easily be turned on and off for people with config scripts. So this is definitely the invite I have for you to take a look. And if you want to contribute additional apps you would like to see on the Raspiblitz, go into that direction. And for this, I hope we gave you a good overview. What's the state of the project, where maybe we're going in the kind of next of weeks or months. And yeah, now every question is fine with us. Jeff, do you have anything?
Yeah, there's one question about Dropbox integration. It's the Dropbox static channel backup on new Dropbox API worked? ?
The fix worked, yeah. So they're on the 1.5.0. There was a problem we found, and it resulted in that just a zero byte file gets stored to a Dropbox. So just in case, then you have a recovery situation, you don't find a valid channel backup there. So this is now fixed with the 1.5.1 that you find to download an easy update with your Raspiblitz. So
Can I just pitch in there that there's been actually an SCB bug in LND itself, which is being fixed with the next 0.10.2 version, which has been overwriting the existing SCB with 0 byte data in some situations. So that could have contributed to our problem as well, right?
okay, but there was also one thing on our side I found, so not exactly sure. But interesting that two projects kind of on the same bucket from different directions. But at least from our side, the transferring is fixed now.
Great.
All right, that was the last question for now. We'll just open up the Jitsi room in a second. Christian and openoms, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. It's quite amazing to see what this all has become and how many options there are and where it's like still going. So thank you very much for coming on tonight and answering all these questions and giving a really broad overview of the Raspiblitz. That's probably not the last time we heard about that. As we mentioned earlier, next week we're going to talk about the Spacebox, which is a project built on the Raspiblitz, which is aiming to cover Africa, the African continent specifically. But for now, I want to thank you, Errol, for tuning in to Potzblitz. This was episode number 9. Thank you for coming, for all your questions, and see you next week. Have a good night, and thank you, Christian and openoms.
Sure, it was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.